Welcome to Start Local, where we talk with business owners, leaders of nonprofits, and other members of our community focused on doing business in and around Chester County, Pennsylvania. Each episode will provide insight into the local business scene and tell you about opportunities to connect with and support businesses and nonprofits in your local area.
The Southern Chester County Chamber of Commerce promotes trade, commerce, industry, and sustainable economic development while supporting a diverse and growing marketplace. The Chamber is proud to partner with the Start Local podcast to raise the profile of businesses and nonprofits throughout Chester County. Learn more about the Chamber at sccc.com. That's sccc.com.
Welcome to Start Local. I'm Liam Dempsey, and I'm recording this conversation today with my co-host, Eric Goodmanson. Eric, how are you, friend?
I'm doing very well. How about you today, Liam?
I am doing super awesome well. Thank you. Folks, as we have shared over the past several episodes, we'll be gathering as a community on Wednesday, September 18th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at Stolen Sun in Exton.
That's right, and it's exciting to see the registrations flying in. We already have a lot of people confirmed, and I can predict very comfortably that it will absolutely sell out. Well, not sell out because it's a free event, and we're true to our principles and morals and all that fun stuff, but you know what I mean. So do head over to our website at startlocal.co. Click on the register button at the top of the page, and make sure you have reserved your spot to come join us.
Today, we're speaking with April Ennis-Pierson. April is the Executive Director of Handi-Crafters. Handi-Crafters is a Thorndale-based nonprofit that provides employment opportunities and supportive services to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Hello and welcome, April.
Hello, Eric. Hello, Liam. It's wonderful to be with you today.
April, it's nice to be with you today.
So let's jump to questions quickly here because we've got a lot of stuff we want to cover with you, April. Handi-Crafters provides people with various disabilities, vocational job training, socialization, and the opportunity for competitive employment. What sort of disabilities do the folks you support face? What are they dealing with? And can you talk to us about how you go about delivering programs to the benefit of those you serve?
Well, thanks, Liam. You know, Handi-Crafters has been around a long time supporting this population, and we're very passionate about the people that we serve. We're looking at individuals and their families who may be on the spectrum, have intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, sight impaired, hearing impaired. This might create a barrier to competitive employment. So that's why after high school, Handi-Crafters would make sense as a place to come and for pre-vocational enrichment, get some experience and have a goal to get a job. But they're a good place to train, a great place to learn, more about life in general and have a great quality of life as Handi-Crafters. So it seems to work for those individuals, gets an extra boost, another step up, but keep that focus of employment and certainly support from our great staff. And again, we can talk about it. We've been around a long time. And how do we deliver the programs that benefit these individuals? It's a model that was started in, probably in the late 50s. It was what they called a sheltered workshop program. It just didn't wind up here in Chester County. It was a national movement across the country to focus on quality of life and the first step in getting individuals out of their homes, helping their families give a new path to enrichment and meeting ththose goals of employment. So 60 years ago, it's where it started, and it still is there, the option today. But again, back then, it was the first step in getting towards employment and getting around people that were like them and finding out that they could be productive and enjoying a new phase of life. Going back 60, the Handi-Crafters started in 51. So what is that? We're like 63 years old. And that really has been our focus. And again, it wasn't just something that started here in Chester County. It was a national movement. And we can talk more about the new philosophies today. Certainly, I know we will. But, that's really what we set out to do, and we're doing that today.
I always like to follow the money trail a little bit, and for an organization like yours, it doesn't come easily necessarily, and for it to, but what really doesn't come easy is to be sustainable, to stick around this long and be successful in your mission for this length of time. So we know that Handi-Crafters receives funding from the state of Pennsylvania. It has revenue from commercial operations, and you bring in money through fundraising. But many who are unfamiliar with Handi-Crafters, they might not understand your model because it is pretty innovative and pretty unique, despite the fact you've been around for so long. So can you give us an overview of how your organization is funded?
Absolutely. It's a continuum of services Handi-Crafters provides, again, to these individuals. And we do it twofold. We run a nonprofit, obviously. That's our mission side of our house, right? We are supporting individuals in a more of a rehab, that pre-vocational sense. We're helping build skills. We're guiding these individuals to learn about going to work every day. So when April says, okay, we're guiding people how to go to work every day, what does that look like? Well, we better run a business on site. So that's where Handi-Crafters has had a operating enterprise and married with a nonprofit for all of these years. So what does our business enterprise look like? What we say is we're a contract packaging business. And we've got really good at that over the years. So our workforce is essentially people that are learning job skills, that are taking a lot away from coming to work at Handi-Crafters every day. They're learning things. They might have behaviors they're working on. We have a team of support. Everybody here has a case management team. They have a workshop supervisors, our term for in-house boss. They're in different ratios throughout our model, where it's applied to learning and growing in a ratio of people on a team. So it's like 15-1 in what we call a workshop. So they're coming to work in our business, contract packaging. So we have customers that bring us work, and it's assembly work. It's putting volumes of product together. You want to know about our revenue. So we have an operating budget of about $7 million. And what does that look like? We're certainly not receiving that from the business. We're kind of balancing both. Our individuals that attend here, we have about 200. We are responsible and highly regulated by the state of Pennsylvania. And our guys enjoy a funding. They enjoy a waiver that supports their disability. So we actually are working as a partner with the Commonwealth, actually through Human Services and their Department of Office of Developmental Programs. So I said regulatory, we're mandated to follow some compliance, and we're able to bill for the services that we provide to those clients when they come in, or there's participants in our program when they come into Handi-Crafters. So that really does support the revenue stream. And of course, our business, we do generate revenue from our business, but really that's to support our labor force, our workforce, and the development side of things there. So, and if there is a gap, we have a fundraising opportunity, development side of our house as well, where we are sending out our fundraiser. We're putting fundraisers together where, we have donors, and we're very fortunate to have donors.
I'm really intrigued by this business model. And it really makes me wonder, how did you get started? I know you said it kind of grew out of a movement in the 50s. Well, what's the story of how Handi-Crafters was founded? Can you share that with us?
Sure. It's a great story. And I think it really deserves to be told, because they're special people that, just like any nonprofit, it starts somewhere. There's that special group of people to put that together. They come together, they collaborate, they're innovators, they're visionaries, they're passionate. And that's just the case here. And then some of the individuals, few of them are gone, but I love to remember them, because they're the reason why Handi-Crafters is still here and still healthy as it is. And yes, it was a national movement, so it wasn't something that kind of, again, struck its chord here in Thorndale, PA. It really, we stemmed out of the arc of Chester County. there was a group of parents with adult children who were doing, as I mentioned earlier, they needed that next step out of their homes. They wanted them to meet their goals and dreams and see what life was about, and they wanted them to go to work. And again, it was a movement, not just here in Chester County, but across the country. And we came out of the arc of Chester County. So we had parents that came together, a gentleman named Mr. Zobel, Mr. Straw-Snyder, their spouses, really caring about, again, getting their guys, their loved ones out of their homes. So knowing that this was going on across the country, why couldn't it take shape here in Chester County? And that's really how we got our start. They found some great opportunities with some folks that could help kind of donate some dollars, and that's how we got started. And then bought this property here in Thorndale, where we are and have been today.
You have a rather challenging role to play in that I hear in your answers, sometimes you're a business, sometimes you're a nonprofit organization, and sometimes you work with the government. And those are three very different mindsets in terms of, organizational, just everything, everything with an organization. So I know that you mentioned you work with the Pennsylvania Office of Developmental Programs, the ODP. But your programs are highly regulated and monitored by the ODP. So what's it like running an organization that must work so closely with a state entity like that?
That's a great question. And when we were just talking about from a marketing perspective this morning in a meeting, we do. And we're very proud of the work we do. And you're right, Eric, we cover a lot of ground. We wear a lot of hats. And we are highly regulated. So, and need to stay in compliance. You're spending essentially utilizing taxpayer dollars. So you've got to do that well and do that right. So we're stewards of that. There's a philosophy now too. I mean, I wouldn't be fair if I wasn't being honest. There's different philosophies and different camps out there. So we're experiencing political, views on a workshop program. But at the end of the day, we pride ourselves in the people that we serve and support. And we pride ourselves in making sure that they're learning, they're growing, that their goals are met. So, and we do that, under regulation, and it's, just having well-trained staff, making sure that we do everything internally that's required of us. And we actually have a state visit coming up from the Deputy Secretary Kristen Ahrens is visiting us on Friday, September 6th here with her leadership team from the ODP. So we welcomed that visit. We were excited to show them what we're doing because we feel like we're doing it well. And then, are we perfect? No. And we're looking to Deputy Ahrens and her staff to say, yeah, Handi-Crafters is a great workshop program, pre-vocational program, and, keeping us in mind for any future model development. We want to be on their radar. So, yeah, I mean, it's not easy. We have 200 participants here. That's a lot of folks to keep track of, but we have an excellent staff. Many are tenured for a long time, 20, 30, 40 years even of staff that is here. They take their job very seriously. We have excellent case management, and we are showing outcomes in such that we're working with our guys. We have this thing called person-centered planning for our guys. In leading an everyday life. That's important to us to facilitate that in our program and help our guys make great decisions and help them meet their goals. So, we are a partner of the Commonwealth. We have business partners, and keeping it all together comes down to great staff, well-trained staff, knowing what our role is, and keeping moving forward in the future for the people that we serve.
I want to get out into that workshop floor. We know you have 10 workshops. You shared that with me in advance of this conversation. It's over 2 buildings out in Thorndale. And your program participants and your colleagues run a full day of work throughout those workshops. Can you walk us through what a day might be like for a participant in your programs, and how might they engage with your services and training?
Let's see. We know Commissioner Rowe, correct? You've probably heard of Commissioner Rowe. He came last, before he, on the campaign trail. And he wrote me a note that said, Handi-Crafters, April, I'm so happy I came. Handi-Crafters is like the happiest place on earth. So that meant a lot to me because someone from outside sees that. We have had lots of visitors, and it's always that resounding, that's a happy place. While we're happy, everyone comments that we are very organized, that there's a lot of movement in the work center, that the teams are working hard. I had Andy Parsons from CTDI, I hope I'm not saying something out of turn for him, but you can just tell he enjoys coming to see the workflow. He enjoys supporting our business, but he also likes to see what's happening on the floor, and in talking about the growth that the guys get from doing work for CTDI, if you will. But I think staff is terrific. The case management side of what we do is important. These individuals that participate in this program have built trust, understanding. They're empowered to grow, and I sometimes think that we're building great confidence in these guys, and in times we also know everybody's name, and we make a very big deal of that. And we're such a positive entity, and we're working on things every day, from a rehab side, vocational rehab side, but from a professional side as well. But we're also embracing that positive growth, and everything matters here. And I think that's what a day is. I mean, you can come in and they're getting off of Chesco Connect as a ride here, or their mom's bringing them. Staff is waving. We have little nicknames for everybody. Come on in, get to work. I mean, it is just full of energy, and it's extremely positive. And at the end of the day, we're meeting production deadlines. We're getting work done for customers. Lots of times there's different work on the floor. We could be weighing putty, 24 pounds of putty, and cutting that up and weighing it for crazy errands. Or we could be, wrapping, I forget the size, but huge pieces of paper for Dumont for a project for them. And we shift gears, and we're getting the work done. And I think there's a real camaraderie on the floor with these guys, and it's really fun to see.
It's a great answer. That is such a great answer. Thanks for walking us through that. And just to clarify for those listening, when you were talking about Commissioner Rowe, that's Commissioner Eric Rowe, the new Chester County Commissioner, was recently elected.
And I want to stick with your answer there, April, for another moment, because I'm thinking of 200 people working there in your facility at the different workshops, and you described it, or I should say Eric Rowe described it as one of the happiest places on earth. And I bet a lot of organizations would be envious of your corporate culture, if you will, of how you create such a place like that's just so exciting and so energetic. And thinking specifically about the individuals that you have there, I imagine that the intellectual or developmental challenges vary within that community. And assuming you serve different members in that community with different challenges, how do you how do you work with those different folks? Do you have individual programs? How do you make it all work and upskill them to, at the end of the day, help them get the job done?
Yeah, how does a gal or guy who's sight impaired manage to meet like a crazy production deadline, sorting a cable for CTDI, but they do it? Like sorting a cable and they really can't really see it, They do with the support of the team. I would credit in that case their workshop supervisor. They have also their teammate. The guys next to them, their teammates know their capabilities. Sometimes they're quick to jump in and say, let me get you more product. Let me make sure that you have that available so that you can keep working. There's a lot of that camaraderie that happens on that team, and that's the culture. They're helping each other. They have a workshop supervisor that knows their maybe their small weaknesses, their strengths. They're picking out jobs that every single person here can do. And it's funny, we would have a customer bring us a different work or different job, and you think, this is going to be good when this rolls out. But, give us an hour. And we are training, we are walking through it, we're figuring out the workflow. And that next day is going to look so much different because they're working together to get that, to perfection. And it's really neat to see. And that's part of growing. Sometimes they might stick their foot down and say, no way, I can't do that. But yes, actually you can. And we see that a lot. And isn't it fun when you roll that out and everybody's working in harmony? And that does happen frequently. It's kind of like this holistic approach, organic approach. It kind of bubbles up and everyone seems to be able to support each other. It's kind of cool to see.
Well, I think one of the key aspects to happiness and contentment in the workforce and even employee retention is employee engagement. And the kind of teamwork you're describing there is the ultimate level of engagement, of recognizing everybody's strengths and weaknesses and helping to come together as a team to accomplish that same goal. So very well done on that corporate culture. Thank you.
And I can't say enough about staff too, if you'd give me a second here too, because again, like we have about 77 on our staff, and I mentioned earlier, there's been some tenure here, 30 years, and these are people that are here. We don't get paid well, right? Governor Shapiro is making some efforts to increase the budget, but for folks that work in human services. But our guys, money matters certainly, but there's passion, there's heart. There is you're working here to support individuals because you really have a passion for it. And I encourage anybody who is listening to this podcast, this is a great field of work. We often talk about how we want to build, make our hearts big and do something that we love every day. This is a wonderful field to be able, and there's newer and newer opportunities to get involved and support other people, these people that, need an extra hand to get out into the community, to understand, to go to a coffee shop, to become what we call a DSP, to enrich their experiences in the community. We call them community participation support. This field's growing to be able to support people. And there's a real, you reflect back on that and you feel really good. And that person's your friend. That's an everyday life. You're buddies with somebody and you want them to experience what you want to experience. And, that's what this is all about. So, taking things even in here or out in the community, this is a great field to feel really good about the impact you'll make.
April, when you talked about the founding, you shared the names of a few families that were interested in supporting their children, their adult children, getting out of the house in productive ways. You talked about how Chesco Connect or Mom might be dropping off some of the participants to go to work in any given day. So I expect that given the challenges that your participants face, that you're probably interacting with the families of your program participants. What does that look like? What sort of interaction and connection do you make with those families? How does that play out on a day-to-day basis?
We're very fortunate for our families, and we, want to be able to listen to. It's kind of actually it's twofold too, because you're dealing with a young adult in most cases, and a very caring, passionate, loving family, and there's you're trying to encourage them to, hey, this is their first job. trying to keep that in perspective. This is the first job. This is a first paycheck for some of these guys. Well, all of them actually at one point. And you want to build that trust with that family. I think that's most important. We've had a couple of new guys, the participants that have come in over the last year, and I've seen that a lot. Like let your loved one get off that bus or out of your car. They're coming to work. And trust us when I tell you, they have a really good boss. They got a fun project to work on. And it's going to be a little bit of a learning and adapting and feeling good about it. But, give us a little time. And if your loved one needs something extra, maybe there's a behavior we want to work on, we're going to help find the resources on that team to build that up. So your loved one is experiencing success. And I think there's a shift there. Again, it's I said everyday lives and person centered. And there's a show called Love on the Spectrum. I don't know if you've seen it or any of the listeners have seen it. I encourage you to do so. I love those parents that are giving their loved ones that everyday life. There's a relationship that they're connecting with. They're going on a date. That's the same thing here. They're going to work. They're meeting friends. They have that cell phone. They're getting phone numbers. They're texting. But sometimes it's that end of school life, and look at it as you're getting your first job, and we're going to take really good care of your guy. We really are, and they're going to learn a lot. And it's funny when there's been individuals, many times participants who maybe the family thought, oh, no way, but they've made some real strides and come out of their shell, and they're moving towards meeting their goals to the next great job outside of Handi-Crafters.
We talked a lot about the culture. We've talked a lot about the emotion behind everything and some of the spirit behind your mission there. But I want to get into the nuts and bolts a little bit. And Liam, I think, is going to ask a question here in a little bit about, some of the products that you actually manufacture there and some of the services that you provide. But first, I want to talk about the people there. We know that the state of Pennsylvania and even the federal government have really emphasized an employment-first approach to the services that you offer. And you provide them as a 14C license holder. So is that approach suitable for all your program participants? And I want to go even further in a more basic way and ask, would you please explain what a 14C license holder is?
14C, sure. Let's start with that. The 14C license we've had for 60 years. I mean, that affords us, it really, in the most broad term, the ability to pay a sub-minimum wage. And what we utilize our 14C license as the vehicle, as a training wage. They're putting things together. It is hand assembly through our contract packaging business. And they're getting paid by the piece. They are not making minimum wage. And I think that is definitely something that's come under fire over the last decade. Because shouldn't everyone, you want them to have an everyday life, doesn't that equate to an everyday wage? This is really it's meant to be under the license. It is meant to help them walk through vocational experiences and growth to build confidence, to move forward, to take that leap into competitive employment. It's called pre-vocation. It's here for that purpose. It's really not to be here for a lifetime, although that happens. And that moves into the second conversation it is choice. It is something that we mention, and we've done that more than we ever have in the past. This is a sub-minimum wage, and it's a training wage. And we are required by law to tell our participants that this is their choice. This is what they're coming into as their paycheck. They're very aware of that. And again, it's really the stepping stone to get into the competitive employment. I don't want to miss the first part of your question. I went over 14C. So again, there are guys participating here too. That's the first paycheck. And that means a lot to them, no matter how many zeros are on it. Honestly, it is a paycheck that they earned that they're now seeing the value in. So it's a great first step. And are we talking about, okay, what does our model look like paying minimum wage? Yes, we are. We want to be able to change our model if that's the philosophy across the nation. But we don't want to leave anybody out with that either. And there would be some balance there that we'd have to really push hard to meet if we were going to lose that opportunity to train, to educate, to build those skills, but pay minimum wage. So it's not that Handi-Crafters is ever not considering what that bigger picture looks like. This is how this model has worked. This is a choice by these individuals. It is a job. They can come 5 days a week. And that's very important to them to have that time here, 6 hours a day, quality time on their team with their friends. That has there's a lot to be said for that. Their job may be extremely part-time, but have a minimum wage. They're here can be here up to 5 days a week. So I hope I answered that. If there was a second part, let me know. Re-ask me, Eric.
No, that was perfect, April, because that really just helps me understand the supply side, if you will, from a workforce standpoint. And now let me turn over to Liam, who's going to ask about your output.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So, April, we can peruse the Handi-Crafter website, and we see that you have business partnerships with some pretty significant, pretty big local companies like Harrah's, CTDI, which you've already mentioned, Victory Brewing, and more. You mentioned Crazy Errands. When we met before today, you shared that Handi-Crafters has that contract packaging service where your program participants provide hand assembly work, and you've described some of that in this conversation. But I wonder if you could give us some specifics around what are you actually doing for Harrah's? What are you doing for CTDI? What are you doing for Victory? What are those hand packaging services look like? And what kind of volume? Because when you shared it with me the other day, I was really blown away by the volume that your program participants at Handi-Crafters turns out.
Yeah. One of our significant volume numbers is Crazy Errands Thinking Putty. We're at a point where we could put out, let's say, 24,000 tins of putty a week. That's huge. We're weighing that. We're cutting that. We're weighing that down. We're putting it in the really fabulous tin of putty that Crazy Errands Mark, uses as his, for his retail. And we're sealing it and I think I said labeling it. And we're doing, start to finish and putting out somewhere around 24,000 tins of putty a week. So, and he's been a fantastic customer of ours since I think 2012. And we know that that's a staple customer. He's bringing that product in here again, we have guys in a couple of shops. They're cutting it, they're weighing it, they're putting it in the tin, they're putting the labels on it, they're sending it through a heat tunnel and packaging it and then sending it back to to Crazy Errands for retail shelves. So that gives you an idea of kind of the volumes we can do and the different variety of work that we accomplish. For Harrah's, we love Harrah's. They've been with us for over 10 years. A couple of times a month, we'll get product from Harrah's that is where we need to take the cases and break them down into variety packs. So we'll get a bunch of different types of cases of chips from Harrah's that we put into a variety of pack for them and then send them back. And like I said, they're in here today. They're in here a couple of times a month. Victory's the same thing. You may see a variety of pack of Victory Brews, Summer Ale, those delicious flavors. We're breaking them down from the cases from Victory and we're putting into the variety pack. We're doing about $100,000 in business contracts for the month.
That's significant. It's much more than a novelty or a token amount. That's some real work output that Handi-Crafters is generating. Mm-hmm. To think about it from one of the perspective of one of your customers, when a customer contacts you and they want to purchase some hand assembly services, Do you think they choose Handi-Crafters as a service provider because you're the best value for their money? Or is there an element of altruism there as well on behalf of your business partners? What's driving them to you as opposed to running a manufacturing facility themselves?
I think we're very competitive in our pricing and what we bid out for that contract. But I would be. It is definitely a mission. The mission side of what we do is extremely important to the customer. I go back to our friends at CTDI, our partners. They've been with us a long time. And I know one of the, certainly the business, it's offloading something that they need to utilize their internal staff for something else. That frees up that workforce on their end internally. But what's pushing that, they certainly could accomplish that on their end, but what's pushing it is that it's important for them to see that Handi-Crafters always has work, that they know that our mission so well, that they make sure that Handi-Crafters, any workshop is not going to go without work. And very rarely does that happen. But we have a great production team. Those customers really do see us as, and that's a pitch of ours. We're going to tell them that this workforce needs that work. And the variety is even better. That diversity on the floor is really fun right now because I talked about weighing putty. I talk about packaging and sending stuff through a tunnel. I talk about cords that are for Comcast or Verizon and making a box and putting some components in there. This is all different types of work that people can, our guys can learn different parts of that job. We're doing a job for Stickler Candy. I think they're up in Reading. And, that's like a big dum-dum lollipop. And we're putting the pops in there. We're putting we're building this big lollipop with a little stick. It's pretty cool. You're going to see it in Five Below, I guess. And our guys feel like when they see that, they did that. They had a part of that. They feel like they're an extension of that product, that brand. But I really do, for us, that's important. And they see those hers chips and they say, I work on hers at Handi-Crafters. They see the crazy errands out in a store and they identify with it. We do that at Handi-Crafters. So that's really huge for our side of it. But look at that customer who looked at us and knew that we needed that work, and they helped us along. And I really think that's the bigger part than what comes down to the contract price. And I think we free up some huge volumes on a floor in a business that, it gives that staff something else to do, that business to grow in other ways because they offloaded that to us.
Yeah, the pride that your participants feel when they see those products, quote, out in the wild, that really resonated with me as a marketing and design consultant, seeing my designs or campaigns I worked on or led out in the wild, doing things, engaging with people, garnering interest and revenue for the clients is super, super exciting. So I think that's just wonderful. Thank you for walking us through that.
Mm-hmm.
Handi-Crafters has been around for, I think you said 63 years. That's a long time in Chester County. I'm sure you and your colleagues and maybe those in your position who have come before you have seen a lot of businesses and nonprofits doing a lot of good things. And I wonder if you can tell us about a business or a nonprofit that you think more people should know about.
That's a hard question.
Yes.
I think, and then if you even said not just Chester County, this is a podcast. Yeah.
I'll limit it to Chester County. I'll limit it to Chester County.
You can. And you know what? I can't really say. I think we're all working so passionately and so hard for, to support our communities, whatever they are, food banks, senior centers, here at Handi-Crafters, supporting into, school age children and making and families. Hey, so much is going on that's so good. I think the best thing to do is, figure out what you love as a person. I look at that, what do I love? What makes a difference? What do I want to help change? And go in, because then we all need your help. We need your dollars. We need your volunteering. We would, all these nonprofits are really good and they all are making a difference. And it's like, and know that, we could use your help in any way, shape, or form. Get involved. Be on the board. If you have deep passion, spend some time and support the nonprofits in your community. I could never name any that stick out. They all are amazing. And I look at them and meet executive directors and CEOs, and I just think, wow, you're being innovative. You're connecting. I love that you have a vision, and we're all doing something really important and really good. And I encourage everybody to look at that and get involved.
If someone's listening to this podcast and they're interested in getting more involved personally, perhaps by coming to work at Handi-Crafters, are you currently hiring? And I'd like you to answer that both with respect to folks interested in full-time employment in a traditional way, as well as folks who might fall under the 14C waivers.
We are definitely looking for referrals. I mean, we have openings here to support participants who and can go to our website, look up Handi-Crafters, hcoccenter.org, and there's a form that you can fill out to start that process. And we're always looking to bring in and support individuals in their journeys. And then I know that from another side of it, which I haven't talked too much about, but there are people that have what we call supports coordination. So don't forget that Handi-Crafters is here, and we do job coaching services. So if they have a consumer that needs support in a job or finding employment, we take referrals for that too. We work very closely with OVR. So yes, indeed, we have our services we can support new participants. Head to the website, check us out, give us a call. And then hiring, we are looking currently for one-on-one support. That's a kind of an entry-level job. We have what we call an adult daily living center, also on campus. And we have about 50, we're licensed for 55 individuals in that program. And that's more of a day center. So it provides fun activities and keeps individuals, engaged in maybe art and pet therapy and music and fun with the staff. So that's a program that really needs support and one-on-one support. There's activities aides, we call them. And, we welcome resumes for that. We are from time to time looking for part-time support on our floor. So we're, send a resume, stop in, fill out an application, a great place to start.
You referenced OVR, that's Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, right?
Correct. And that is the stepping stone to evaluating next steps after school, to support the first employment here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And there may be a recommendation after going through OVR that individuals just getting out of high school would want to seek out pre-vocational services, which is where Handi-Crafters would come in.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
April, before we wrap up our conversation today, I want to ask you how the community can give back to Handi-Crafters. You referenced a few ways about volunteering and getting involved, but I wonder if there's other things or maybe more specific examples of the kind of volunteering or the kind of support, maybe above and beyond donations that you're thinking about.
Sure. Well, we always love those big major gifts, so that's always one. That's a shameless plea, but hey, I was in development before I became the executive director.
Sure.
Honestly, a great way, I mentioned volunteering, and we have a great opportunity to volunteer here. And I was involved with Chester County Hospital before I returned to Handi-Crafters when they had a wonderful volunteer program at Chester County Hospital, Penn Medicine. Same thing here. If you're looking to get involved, volunteers are wonderful. You get on the floor, you talk to people, you help us meet production deadlines. That's a great place. If you're thinking, what can I do with my day? I may be retired. I don't want to be, I want to volunteer. This is a great, I would recommend coming over and jumping in, and who knows where that goes. We've had volunteers that have become workshop supervisors, from just wanted to explore what this field was like, and they became amazing workshop supervisors. So, certainly an opportunity from volunteering, supporting our events. There's committee work that we could utilize. We have a huge golf tournament coming up. The 38th annual Hankin Invitational tees off at Whitford Country Club on October 7th. We've been doing that tournament for a decade. I think this will be our 11th year. And that tournament has raised $2.2 million for Handi-Crafters. They're incredible friends of ours and have done so much to support our mission. And we're extremely grateful to Michael Hankin, Bob Hankin Group. So jump in, play golf, look into sponsorship opportunities for our events. Those type of things really go a long way to help us stay very grounded and supported.
April Ennis-Pierson, Executive Director of Handi-Crafters. Aside from maybe meeting up with you at Stolen Sun on September 18th or coming out to the golf tournament, where can listeners connect with you to learn more about your team's great work?
I think I mentioned our website, hcoccenter.org. We're on Facebook at Handi-Crafters. I think it's under HCOC Center as well on Facebook. And we're on LinkedIn as well, so check us out. Like us, share our content. There's some really cool videos on there of the happiest place on earth at Handi-Crafters. You'll see us and certainly come by. Hey, give me a shout, send me an email, call us, and we'll hook up, and you can come and take a tour. And I promise you, I will entice you to work here, volunteer or come to work. It'll be a lot of fun.
April, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate the gift of your presence.
I really appreciate this. It's an honor to be on with both of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. I am Eric Goodmanson. The Start Local podcast is published every 2 weeks. We invite you to subscribe to Start Local using your favorite podcast app or ask your smart speaker to play the Start Local podcast. You can also visit the Start Local website at startlocal.co for show notes, including the links mentioned on the show and summaries of past episodes. We hope you join us on the next episode. Thank you for listening.